Right, hello everybody. This is just a quick prologue to this video. It runs for about 17-18 minutes and it's a long discourse on the thought process that has taken me to the point of view that maybe it's my orthotics that are the whole problem that I have with my burning toes. So I'm just off to Creighton Park and I'm going to try a run with the shoes that I had before I got my orthotics, just to see how it works. Okay, so that is the summary of the next 17 or 18 minutes. If you want to hear the detail of my thought process, then carry on, because I think it's quite interesting. If you just want here's the outcome, then that's the outcome. I'm not convinced that the orthotics are actually the answer to my problems, that they might be the cause of these most recent problems. I'm going to Creighton just now. I'm going to try doing a long run in the shoes that I had before the orthotics and see how I get on. Okay, so if you want to hear the long thing, carry on listening to the video. Otherwise, cut to the long run at Creighton Park where I test my old shoes. Okay. Well, hello everybody. It's Wednesday of week 17, and it's unusual that I'm doing a report on a Wednesday. But then the last couple of weeks have been unusual. In fact, the last 3 weeks have been unusual. So if you've been following the series, you'll know that 3 weekends ago I had a big problem when I was doing my 25k run from St Andrews up to Tayport, and I just found it incredibly difficult and ended up walking for probably at least a third of it. And I put it down to having done 2 really quite hard speed sessions that week, and so my upper legs felt really tired. But I had a week off, and the next weekend I tried that again, and it wasn't quite as bad, but it was almost as bad. So I came to the conclusion that it wasn't tired legs, it was just that the muscles in the upper legs were really tight. So I had made an appointment with a physio, and I saw them last week, and I did a couple of runs last week. In fact, I did 4 runs after that, so I have to wait 2 days after the physio before I really run. So I've done 4 since then, but quite short ones, and everything's been okay. So I had another bout of physio on Monday of this week, which was 2 days ago, and I'm off to try and do a long run today. Now the other big problem that I've had is with my shoes, and I've had this kind of burning toes, hot toes kind of syndrome, where it's not the tips of my toes, not the ball of my feet, but the kind of this part of the toe that just gets incredibly hot, as though it's on fire. I had a word with a podiatrist about it, and she said, well, it can be caused by a lot of things, but normally it's the toes being constrained. I had changed my shoes. I had been using New Balance since last October when I got my orthotics, and I changed them because I thought they were really light, and I thought maybe the problem was that the soles were too flexible and they weren't giving enough support to my toes. In other words, the toes were getting crimped when I was running. But the New Balance, I was getting about 12-13 k's before the problem manifested itself. I changed them for a pair of Sauconys, which felt tremendous in the shop, but first time I used them I only got about 6k. So went back, swapped them for a pair of Brooks, and I got about, I don't know, the same 12-13k in them, but as I've used them over a few weeks, the distance has come down until it's also giving me pain about 6 Ks. So that's 3 pairs of shoes, and all of them giving me burning toes. Is it something to do with my actual toes? Well, the physio didn't think so, but she said, well, go and have another word with your podiatrist. But to be honest, I'm starting to lose confidence in all of that stuff. So here's where I am, and I might be totally wrong here, but I think I'm onto something. You know, I'm an analyst by background and by nature. I'm always trying to find data and you know, trying to put the pieces of the jigsaw together to explain why it is something's happening. It's not good enough that something's happening. I need to know why it's happening. Okay, so let's go back to last year. Last October I went to see the podiatrist because I'd had 2 years of injuries. I started off with plantar fasciitis in my left foot. That went into, I think it was a calf strain in my right leg. That then went into a groin strain. I then had an Achilles problem on my left side, and then, you know, this time last year, last August, I picked up an Achilles problem on my right side. So the podiatrist had seen me running around and had said, you know, I think you could be doing with coming and having an assessment, which I did. And between the assessment and getting orthotics and 2 new pairs of shoes, a pair of road and a pair of trails, it came to about £400, which is, you know, not an insignificant amount of money. Anyway, from then until a couple of weeks ago, everything was fine, and I put it down to the orthotics making the difference. However, and here's the big point, these shoes and the orthotics have been fine until I've started doing the longer distances. And now that I'm getting up to 24, 25, 26k, which is, what, 15, 16, 17 miles, something like that, which is still 10 miles short marathon distance, I'm having another disassociated problem. And changing the shoes doesn't seem to be making any difference. The only thing that's constant is my feet and the orthotics. So I start to question, is it the orthotics? Because of the 2 things, feet and orthotics, the feet are okay when I run in my trail shoes, even for extended distances. Now, I use the orthotics in the trail shoes as well, so it's not a clear-cut case. But the trail shoes are definitely much more rigid, much more stable. So I think the orthotics have less of a role to play there. Okay, so let's go back to the 2 years when I was having all these problems. At the time that I got the orthotics, last October, 10 months ago, that was when I started to my pain-free period, so October right through until the middle of July. At the same time, last October, I started my Get Fit Falkland group, the Couch to 5k group, and I started off doing the 30-second intervals, the same as the people doing the programme. And I used that first programme as much as a way for me to get back into running at an easy, gradual progression, as much as the Get Fitters did. Okay, so I put the lack of any pain afterwards down to the fact that I was using these magnificent orthotics. But could it be that it was nothing to do with the orthotics? It was the fact that I had actually taken the time, that 10, 12 weeks, to build up gradually from 30-second reps up to doing 5k, half an hour, and then building gradually from then, because I went from the Get Fit Falkland into the transition group, which took the get fitters from 5k up to 10k, and again I did it at the same time as them. So from October to December I went from 0 30-second reps to 5ks, then from January till March I went from 5k to 10k. So gradual build up, no pressure, no doing too much too soon, and it just worked. Now compare that to the previous 2 years when I did have the injuries, and in every case I knew at the time when I got over an injury, instead of starting and building up gradually as I did laterally, I would do 2 or 3 weeks of gradual build up and then get it into my head that everything was okay, and then bang, I would go out and just run as I always had. But equally well, bang, I got another injury, which was a referred injury because it was compensating. I was compensating for the previous injury, put too much a load onto the other side, hence it kept going from left to right. So, went through all that 2 years of injuries, doing too much too soon, incurring a subsequent injury. Got the orthotics, started doing the couch to 5k, built up gradually, and I had no injuries since, until 2 weeks ago. So the question that's in my mind, if you're still following this, is the pain-free period, was it really down to the orthotics changing my running form, if you like, correcting what was supposed to be quite a severe pronation problem? Or was it that it was simply that I'd taken 6 months to build up from doing 30-second reps to doing 10k runs? Okay, so let's go back beyond the 2 years where I had problems. And this is maybe where it starts to get even more interesting, because at the time I got the orthotics, I changed my shoes, because when you use orthotics you need to use neutral shoes, because the orthotics compensate for any pronation or supination or whatever it's called. So the shoes that I was using before I got my orthotics, when I was having my 2 years of injury, were a pair of Nike Pegasus 3, which I bought from Sweatshop, and I had, an analysis done at the time, and so they are for runners with pronation. Okay, so that's cool. So you might think, well, that's problems that you were wearing when you had these injuries, so surely these shoes are no good. That's been part of the problem. But that's not true, because I got the shoes at least a year before that, so that's 3 years ago, and during that first year, before I got my injuries, I did my first half marathon in 30 years. So I did a lot of longer distance training for that. Never went to 25k's, of course, but I did a lot of stuff, and I did a reasonable half marathon, and I didn't have any problems at all. I never had any of this burning toes issue until 2 weeks ago. So there is a theory that shoes only, or they should be replaced every 500 miles. So being realistic, those Nike Pegasus 3 shoes had done more than 500 miles. So maybe there is a case that they were part of the problem, and I really can't say anything about that because I don't have any data to say one way or another. But I did keep those shoes. Oops. I did keep hold of these shoes, and I've used them once or twice when I've been running on the treadmill, where it's a flat surface and don't have to cope with the vagaries of trails or whatever. So what I'm doing today, and this is getting round to what I've been talking about for the last 15 minutes or so. What I'm doing today is I'm going back to Creighton Park. I'm going to do a long run. I'm heading for somewhere between 25 and hopefully I'll manage 30 k's today. But I'm looking for between 25 and 30 k's. And I'm wearing the Nike Pegasus 3 shoes. Now, just in case I do still have a problem with these shoes, I don't want to do an out and back run, or I run out and get the bus back run where I could get stuck in the middle of a forest or whatever. So I'm going back to Creighton Park, and it's going to be exceptionally boring, but I'm just going to do laps of the park. So each lap of the park is almost exactly 1.5 k's. So 16 laps of the park will be 24 k's. So that's what I'm aiming for. 17 would be 25.5, which would be bang on my expectations, and 20 laps would be about 30 kilometres. So I'll probably lose count as I'm going along, but I'm hoping to do somewhere between 25 and 30 k's. But the plan is, and the main point for going to the park, is that if I do hit a problem, then I'm never going to be more than 5 minutes away from my car. My car will be in the car park. So if it is something to do with the shoes, or if these shoes are no good anymore and I'm still going to have a problem, then I just cut it short, go back to the car, and I know that, you know, it's not these shoes that are the problem, because I've taken shoes totally out of the equation. If, however, and this is the real point, I do manage to do 25 to 30 kilometres in the shoes, and I don't have any significant problems, if I don't get the burning feet, then that kind of suggests that the problem isn't just to do with the new shoes that I bought, the neutral shoes, but it's to do with the orthotics. That the orthotics aren't really suitable for running longer distances. Right, so there we go. That's been a long ramble that shows you my train of thought. Why is it I'm getting burning toes? That's my main problem for lack of confidence, why I was saying I'm kind of not sure if I can do this marathon. It's not really the muscles, because I can see the physios already making differences there. It's the burning toes issue. I can't afford, you know, honestly, to keep going and spending £100 a time on different pairs of shoes, trying, you know, different things. You know, if I try 5 pairs of shoes, that's 500 quid it's costing me. And yes, I can try shoes and take them back, but you know, there's a limit to the amount of time that you can have a pair of shoes and use them before taking them back, because somebody else is going to buy them as a new pair of shoes. So if I've used them for a month and put in, you know, a couple of 100 k's, they're no longer new shoes, and I can't take them back. Yeah, but at the same time, if I only go out and do one run, then it's not really giving the shoes a fair chance. So I think the only thing that I can do is to keep buying new pairs of shoes, which is unfortunate. Okay, so that's the plan for today. If you managed to stay till the end with me, then thanks. You know, you've done well, because I'm sure it would have been really kind of disjointed in places, and you'd be wondering what my point was, and saying, come on Malky, just get to the point. Okay, so thanks for sticking with me, thanks for listening to that. I hope it made some sense, and I hope that this run goes well. If it doesn't, then I'm basically back to square one and struggling to find an answer.